Hey guys, this is Goku, and on this channel we talk about poker and ideas that can improve your life. If you're new to poker, you can check out some of my materials for the beginner players in the description of this video. Today we're gonna play some more GTO spots. We're playing the cash game spot, cutoff open versus big blind call on 97 BBs effective stacks, and we are only 160 hands far from completing our little 500 sample. We hope to get it down to minus 20 BBs on EV loss, but perhaps that'll be difficult. But let's see what we can do. This session will play another 25 hands, so let's jump right into it. We have Queen 10 of spades on a 7-5 ace with 2 clubs, and we are betting 2 here, and the solver does so as well. It's the ADL action, and it's 46.6% play. Okay, let's go to the next one. King Queen off on a Jack Deuce 5 is a bet 2 again. Actually, bet 2 is EV loss 0, but it's only played 32% of the time. The ideal action will actually be betting 5, and it's played almost 50% by the solver, so that's interesting. Nonetheless, the villain calls our bet, and there's a king on the turn, and now I think this is kind of a juicy spot to overbet, and this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna overbet, bet 13. Yeah, the solver agrees. He would have done so as well here, 85% of the time almost. So that's the preferred play and the most frequent one. But we get raised to 35 BBs. We get check raised to 35 BBs. What do we do here? Do we call this off or do we fold? I think we call this off. Yeah, this is what I would do. And the solver agrees. He would have called it 98% of the time. Now we catch a queen on the river and the villain checks to us. So do we bet half pot? Do we bet 3/4? I mean, do we bet all in basically? Or do we check behind with our hand? I think we are shoving it here. And the solver agrees. He would have done so as well 90% of the time. I would assume he would play a half pot, the remainder 9%. Okay, let's go to the next one. 8 Jack suited on a 4-7-9. Is this a spot that we check or bet 5? Or is this a bet 2 spot? I'm gonna bet 2. The solver would do so 46.4% of the time. It's a very little EV loss, but the ideal action would actually be betting 5, and the solver would play it 29% of the time. Okay, we have a 7 of clubs on the turn. We bet 2, we got called. What do we do now? Do we continue betting or do we check? I think we should continue betting. I kind of feel drawn towards betting a third of the pot. Well, the solver would not do that here. Often, just 3% of the time. It's a very small EV loss, but it turns out we should check 96% of the time, which is interesting because I'm pretty sure I'm not checking this frequently here. But nonetheless, the villain folds. So we go to the next hand. We have ace 3 suited on a 5-7 ace with 2 diamonds, and the villain actually leads for 5 BBs. We're gonna, of course, call this. The solver agrees. Now there's a 10 of clubs on the turn, and the solver overbets. The villain overbets the pot. I assume we're falling here. Whoa! Actually, the solver would call here again for almost 40% of the time. He would fold. He would have folded 56.7% as well. And that's a minus 0.015 BB of EV loss, which is interesting, which is really, really interesting because calling an overbet here with ace 3, I don't think that's a kind of a weak play, but we should be doing that almost 40% of the time here. Well, that's quite an important thing to keep in mind. Let's go to the next one, pocket 3s on the 3-10-8. I think we're betting 5 here. Yeah, 98% of the time, the villain folds. Jack 10 suited on a deuce king queen with 2 diamonds. We have a royal flush draw. I assume we're betting 5 here. Yeah, 50% of the time. But the villain folds. We have 7-8 of spades on a 4 Jack 4. I think we're betting 2 here. The solver agrees. The villain calls. There's a king of clubs on the turn. We're going to check. The solver will only check here 25% of the time. He would bet 3/4 of the pot 43% of the time. And that's the ideal action. Okay, makes sense. There's a queen of clubs on the river, and we're going to fold our hand. The solver agrees. Pocket deuces on queen jack 9. I think we're going to bet 5 here. And we should be betting 2, actually, which is interesting. Betting 5 is a 10% play and a almost non-existent EV loss change. There's the queen of hearts on the turn, and I think we're going to check. The solver does so as well. And there's another queen on the river, and the villain overbets the pot. Now, do we call here? Do we raise? Maybe do we fold? I think we're gonna fold this here. Actually, we should be calling 93.5% of the time. Folding is only 6.2% of the time play, and minus 0.57 BB loss of EV. Okay, good to know. Yeah, I was thinking about calling, but yeah, I decided to fold. Ace queen off on a 9-5-10 with 2 hearts. We're betting 2. Okay, that's a bet 5 type of hand. Is that really? 4 of diamonds on the turn, and the villain leads for 3.5 BBs. We're going to call. And again, that's a very rare play in the solver's arsenal. The solver would raise it here to 13 BBs, 57.7% of the time, which is interesting. Calling is small EV loss, but only 5% of the time the solver plays it like that. And now on a deuce on the river, the villain bets leads for 3/4, and I think we're folding here. Yeah, jack queen off on a 3 deuce king with 2 spades. We're gonna bet 2. It's actually a check. Check's the ideal play, but betting 2 is also a 41% play and 0 EV loss. Pocket jacks on 9-7 king with 2 diamonds. I think we bet 2 here. We do not. We check here 67% of the time. Okay, that's interesting. Now I'm going to check on a 6 of diamonds turn, and the solver does so as well. And now the ace of diamonds on the river. The villain leads. We're just going to call. The solver agrees, and we win versus 10-9 suited. Cool. Pocket 9s on a king 4 queen. Is that a bet 5? It is not a bet 5 ever. It should be a check 87% of the time. I am really not checking enough on the flop. That is for sure. I need to get my checks up on the flop. Maybe that's a good hand to do that. It is the worst hand to do that, unfortunately. But oh well. Now there's the ace on the turn, completing the flush draw, and the villain overbets. We're gonna call. We will not know what happens here because the solver doesn't play it that way ever on the flop. Let me think. If we call this here, I don't think so. We are not calling here with ace deuce of hearts. King 8 of diamonds on a 5-7-6. I think this is a hand that we check. Yes, excellent. 3 of hearts on the turn. Maybe that's a hand we raise from time to time. Not really. I mean, it is the remainder of the strategy, but it's only played 4.12% of the time, and 96% of the time we should just be calling it here. But it makes the villain fold, so that's pretty cool. We have ace queen off on an ace 3 deuce with 2 spades, and I think I'm gonna bet 5 here, which is again a very rare play. I mean, not a very rare, but a rare play. In the solver strategy, we should be betting 2 or checking, and betting 2 is the preferred way, and played 63% of the time. Now there's a 10 of diamonds on the turn, and I'm going to bet 3/4. And again, the solver disagrees with this line. I mean, it only plays it 7% of the time, and 40% of the time he checks. So I guess the overbet or a third of the pot bet makes up the remainder 50% of the strategy, which is interesting. So perhaps we should be overbetting in a spot like that and not betting 3/4. Ace 10 off on a 3-6-3 is a bet 2. Yes, we get called. There's a 7 of diamonds on the turn. We're going to check it here. The solver agrees. And now there's a 7 of hearts on the river, and the villain leads for 7 BBs, so 3/4 of the pot. I think we just call it here. Okay, we just call it here 35% of the time. So I wonder if we overbet it most often, or do we have folds here as well? Probably we do have some folds, but how much? I'll be interested to know that. King 8 of diamonds on a 9-5-4. I think this is bet 2. Yes, excellent. King 10 of spades on an ace 6 queen. Is that a bet 2? It's a bet 5. Bet 2 is played 7% of the time, and bet 5 is played 49% of the time almost. There's a 9 of clubs on the turn. Now do we bet it here or do we check? I think we check here. The solver agrees, and there's a 4 of spades on the river, and we are going to fold. Yeah, pocket deuces on 4-9 jack. I feel like I should bet 5 here, but I really don't know. I think I'm just gonna bet 2. Okay, so my feeling was correct. This is an overbet kind of spot, but betting a third is a very small EV loss, but it's just 4.4% play. Ace jack off on a 3-10-8 with 2 hearts is a bet 2. It is not a bet 2, it's a bet 5. How is that a bet 5? Anyways, we catch an ace on the turn, and we're going to overbet this here, which is a fine play, 45% play, small EV loss, but the ideal action would be actually betting 3/4, and the solver does so 51.5% of the time. Here we have ace jack off on an ace 9 queen. We're going to bet 2 here, and again we should be betting 5 on a board like this, which is kind of weird if you ask me. But betting 2 is 8.5% play and a small EV loss again. Ace 9 off on a 7 queen 4 is a bet 2 for sure. Yes, we get raised. We get check raised to 8.5 BBs. Now, do we fold this? I don't think so, right? We call. Okay, we do fold it here. Shoot. There goes our great EV session. But oh well, we gotta fold it here, unfortunately. Yeah, we should have folded that. Pocket kings on a 5-10-8 offsuit rainbow. Do we bet 5 here? Yes, we do. Ace queen off on a jack-jack king is a bet 2. Yeah, we get raised. We call, right? Again, we fold. Come on, man. I'm really not getting this. Now the villain bets 15.5 for folding. Yeah, I think I'm overcalling the 3 bets on the flop in those spots. For sure I am, so we need to work on that. 8-6 of hearts on a jack deuce 9. Is that a bet 2? It's a bet 5. Okay. We've played our 25 hands, so that's the last one. We're going to bet 2 on this board. And the villain calls. There's a jack on the turn. Now do we bet 3/4 or do we overbet? Maybe that's a spot where we overbet. It is not, and it should not be a spot that we overbet. We should mostly just play third of the pot. Maybe not mostly, because we don't know the rest of the strategy. Maybe the rest would be betting 3/4, but it could also be checking, I assume. Nonetheless, we go called. There's a 4 of hearts on the river. We are going to overbet again. Yeah, the solver would do so as well. And we get called by ace jack. We win, so that's pretty good. Let's exit the session, and yeah, unfortunately, that's not a bad session, minus 23 BBs of EV loss. We've had way worse, but if it wasn't for this one very bad 3-bet call, we would have had a much better session. Probably on something like minus, I don't know, 5 BBs of EV loss or something like that. But oh well, we are getting better at this for sure. Let me just check out the overall stats. Yeah, minus 38 big blinds of EV loss. That's pretty good. Yeah, we're still behind, and I think we actually cannot ever make this better, but we can get the EV loss down, and as you can see, it has been decreasing. We've had some really terrible sessions, like this minus 50, minus 125, minus 100, couple of minus over 40, but the ones we're doing recently are much better. We just make 1 or 2 crucial mistakes, and that's still of course a lot, but we're getting better at this for sure. And we have 134 hands left to play, so hopefully we can get the overall EV loss down to minus 20, but we're gonna see if that happens. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, please leave a comment below, subscribe to this channel if you want to see more videos like this, leave a thumbs up, and of course you can check out the links in the description and maybe get this learn WPT GTO trainer, get your hands on it and play with it yourself. I really recommend it. It's a fine tool, and I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of fun with it. We are having a lot of fun with it, and this will continue in the future for sure. Thank you guys so much for watching again, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.